She knew, I muttered, staring at her signature on one of the documents. Reed nodded. She might try to play the victim, but she was complicit. She just didn't realize how deep Gavin's scheme went. I closed the folder and exhaled. Send all of this to the authorities as soon as the banks confirm the forgeries. I want them both facing criminal investigations. Reed smirked, already in motion. By the end of the day, everything was in place. All accounts tied to my name were frozen. Every fraudulent loan was formally disputed, and I had a seasoned investigator on my side delivering evidence. Then I made one final move. I called Mia's parents. It was late when I dialed the number one I hadn't used in years. Her father answered, his voice thick with sleep. "Hello, Mr. Elson," I said, voice steady. "It's me." A pause, then cautiously. "What do you want?" I leaned against my desk. Did Maya ever tell you she and Gavin took out $400,000 in loans using my name? Silence, then a long, deliberate breath. "What did you just say?" I repeated every detail. The forged signatures, the fraudulent loans, the embezzlement. When I finished, I could hear the fury in his breathing. "She swore to us they were doing well," he muttered. "Gavin convinced us he was some kind of business genius." "He's a con artist," I said bluntly, and Maya went along with it. Another pause, then a tight voice. "What do you plan to do?" I let the words hang in the air. "I'm making sure they pay for what they did." He didn't argue. "Keep me updated," he said, before hanging up. One by one, the walls were closing in on them. 2 days later, everything started to collapse. I got a call from Mr. Cameron. "They're panicking," he said, his tone almost amused. "Maya and Gavin have been trying to access funds, but the banks are blocking them. They're realizing they can't touch anything connected to your name." I smiled. "Good." "And there's more," he continued. "The bank officially flagged the loans as fraudulent. They're launching a full investigation. Once the forged signatures are confirmed, they'll hand the case to law enforcement." My heartbeat steadied. Which means, he said, Gavin and Maya are looking at serious legal trouble." I leaned back in my chair, feeling a grim satisfaction settle over me. They deserved every second of this. That night, my phone rang again. It was Maya. I let it go to voicemail, then Gavin called. I ignored that too. Soon the texts started flooding in. "Maya, please, we need to talk." "Gavin, we can fix this. Don't do anything rash." "Maya, I made a mistake." "Okay, but we can figure this out." "Gavin, come on, man. You don't need to get the police involved." I laughed bitterly. Too late. I typed a single response. "Talk to my lawyer." Within seconds, Maya's typing bubble appeared, then stopped, started again, and stopped once more. I silenced my phone and poured myself a drink. They thought they could take everything from me. They thought I'd roll over and let them get away with it. They had seriously underestimated me. Now they were done. The morning after I sent the final text, I woke up to find over a dozen missed calls from Maya. Gavin had tried calling too, but didn't leave a voicemail. I wasn't surprised. They were desperate now. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee, scrolling through the notifications. Text after text from Maya pleading, bargaining, trying to convince me to talk. "Maya, please just hear me out." "Maya, I know you're angry, but we can fix this." "Maya, don't let it go this far. It doesn't have to be like this." She still didn't get it. I took a slow sip of my coffee and typed my response. "It's already gone this far." A few seconds later, the typing bubble appeared, then stopped. My phone rang again. I let it go to voicemail. I wasn't interested in hearing whatever excuse she had prepared. She wasn't sorry. She was just scared. Good. I had no intention of backing down. By the afternoon, my lawyer called. "They tried to take out more loans," Mr. Cameron said, his tone amused. "The banks rejected them immediately." I exhaled, shaking my head. "They still don't get it," I muttered. "They're panicking," he confirmed. "The bank is investigating every loan tied to your name. The fraud claims have been escalated, and Maya and Gavin's accounts are officially frozen." I felt a dark satisfaction settle in my chest. That means they can't touch a single dollar, right? Not a cent. Perfect, I muttered. They're going to lose everything. Mr. Cameron's voice was measured. Yes, they will. I should have felt guilty, but I didn't. They brought this on themselves. A few hours later, my phone rang again. This time I picked up. Please. Maya's voice was shaky, her desperation spilling through. Just listen. I stayed silent, waiting. She sniffled, then spoke again. The house. The bank is threatening foreclosure. I didn't respond. She inhaled sharply, her voice breaking. They're saying, we have 30 days before we lose everything. I tilted my head, swirling my drink in my hand. And why exactly is that my problem? She let out a soft, broken sob. I waited, but she didn't finish her sentence. Say it. My eye pressed. Tell me why you think I should care. Silence, then a defeated whisper. Because I messed up. I closed my eyes, letting her words sink in. Messed up was an understatement. Do you even realize what you did? I asked, my voice eerily calm. She sniffled again. I do now. No, you don't, I said sharply. Because if you did, you wouldn't be begging me for help. You wouldn't be asking me to clean up the mess you made. Please, she whispered. We have nowhere else to turn. I exhaled through my nose. What about Gavin? He seemed pretty damn confident the last time I saw him. Her breath caught. She hesitated. He left. I blinked, caught off guard. Excuse me? She let out a bitter, tear-choked laugh. As soon as he realized we were sinking, he packed his bags, took what little cash we had left, and disappeared. I leaned back in my chair, stunned. Gavin had abandoned her. I'd expected him to lash out, to scheme, maybe try to wriggle his way out of the mess. But this was lower than I imagined. Maya was alone now. For a fleeting second, I almost felt pity almost. But then I remembered the restaurant, the laughter, the mocking, the way she looked at me like I was nothing. She'd chosen Gavin. She'd laughed in my face, called me a waste of space. And now the man she'd stood beside had run for the hills. Now you understand, I murmured. She drew in a shaky breath. Understand what? What it feels like to be abandoned, I said. To have everything you built ripped away. To be humiliated. She exhaled unevenly. You did this to yourself, Maya. Her breath hitched once more. Goodbye, she whispered. I ended the call. That night, a text came in from an unknown number. Gavin, I hope you're happy, man. You ruined us. I actually laughed. I ruined them. I typed back, you did that all on your own. I never heard from him again. Within a week, their business was shut down. The bank had seized their assets. Their house teetered on the edge of foreclosure. Gavin had vanished, and Maya was left with absolutely nothing. But it didn't stop there. Word of Gavin's fraud got back to his boss once the forged signatures and embezzlement came to light. He was fired immediately. As for Maya, her family disowned her when they learned the truth. Her own parents turned their backs. No money, no home, no husband, no friends, no future. She had no one to blame but herself. A few days later, I got one last voicemail from her. Please, she said, barely audible. We have nothing left. Help me. I listened to it twice. Then, with a slow, satisfied smirk, I deleted it. No reply, no second chances. She was nothing to me now. She had laughed at my pain. And now she was drowning in hers. Karma had done its job. And as I deleted her message, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. This was about finishing what they started. Maya and Gavin had spent years lying, cheating, stealing, humiliating me without remorse. They thought they'd get away with it. They thought I'd stay silent. Now I had the power, and I wasn't done. The next morning, I sat across from Mr. Cameron, who had been tracking every move, monitoring the bank's investigation, executing every legal strike with precision. With Gavin and Maya fully cornered, it was time to drive the final nail into the coffin. They're finished, Mr. Cameron said, sipping his coffee as he leaned back in his chair. Maya couldn't access her accounts. Gavin had completely vanished, and the banks were preparing to press charges. I nodded. That's not enough. Mr. Cameron raised an eyebrow. Oh, I want to make sure they don't bounce back from this, I said calmly. I want the fraud charges to stick. I want Maya to face the weight of her choices for the rest of her life. And Gavin, I smirked. I want to ensure he never considers anyone again. Mr. Cameron grinned. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I didn't answer right away. I wasn't doing this for sport. I wasn't heartless. But after all the lies, the betrayal, and the public humiliation, they had it coming. Every bit of it. They brought this on themselves, I said simply. Mr. Cameron gave a firm nod. All right, let's talk next steps. Step 1, criminal charges. The bank had already launched a fraud investigation, but Mr. Cameron recommended we crank up the pressure. We'll file formal charges against both Gavin and Maya, he said. Forgery, fraud, identity, theft, the full list. I tapped my fingers on the desk. What kind of sentence are we talking about if they're convicted? He smirked. Could be several years in prison. I exhaled slowly, feeling that tight sense of satisfaction build in my chest. Do it. Step 2. Family fallout. I had contacted Mia's father before, but now it was time to hit harder. I sent him everything. Bank statements, proof of forgery, fraud reports, documents linking Mia directly to the embezzlement. His response came quickly. Mr. Larson, she swore she had no part in this. I can't believe it. She lied to you, I replied, just like she lied to me. There was a long pause. Then she's on her own. And that was that. Her own family had disowned her. Maya had officially lost everyone. Step 3, public exposure. Maya and Gavin had built their lives on smoke and mirrors, pretending to be successful, manipulating others into believing their illusion. It was time to tear that down. A local reporter reached out a few days later. I heard about the fraud case. Would you be willing to share your side? I didn't hesitate. I handed over every document I had. 2 days later, the headline dropped. Local couple exposed in $400,000 fraud scandal. Investigation underway. The article revealed everything: faked signatures, embezzlement, lawsuits, looming criminal charges. Maya and Gavin were now social paras. Their neighbors gossiped. Their former friends cut ties. No one wanted to be associated with them. From self-proclaimed elites to disgraced criminals, they were finished. Step 4, the final betrayal. Gavin had been silent for days. Too silent. Then, out of nowhere, he called me. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity won out. Hello. A long pause. Then, you win. I blinked, caught off guard by how defeated he sounded. Excuse me. You win, Gavin repeated. I don't know what else to do. I smirked. You could always turn yourself in. He let out a dry, bitter laugh. Yeah, right. I waited. Then he said something I didn't expect. I'll make a deal. I raised an eyebrow. A deal? I'll testify against Maya, he said. I'll give the police everything, proof of the fraud, the embezzlement, all of it. Just help me out of this. I almost laughed. Gavin was throwing Maya under the bus to save himself. Typical. The moment things got too messy, he did what he always did. Ran. I exhaled, pretending to consider it. Why should I trust you? Because he said quietly, I have proof Maya was the one who came up with the idea to forge your signature. My breath caught. He had evidence. This was better than I could have hoped for. I smiled. Send me the proof. Then we'll talk. A minute later, my phone buzzed with an email. I opened it. Attached were emails, text messages, and even a voice recording of Maya, outlining the forged loans. Gavin was guilty, but Maya, she had been the architect. I let out a slow, victorious breath. This was the final piece. I forwarded everything to Mr. Cameron. His reply came almost instantly. With this, Maya won't just lose everything. She could be looking at real prison time. I stared at the message for a beat, then typed back, make sure she does. The aftermath. By the end of the week, Maya was officially under investigation. Gavin, scrambling to save himself, turned witness and cut a deal. With his testimony and the evidence I provided, Mia was facing a steep legal battle. Her family refused to support her. Her friends abandoned her. And Gavin, he betrayed her without hesitation. She had nothing left. Meanwhile, I walked away untouched. My name was cleared, my finances secure, and the best part, I got to watch Maya and Gavin destroy everything they built brick by brick. They had built a life on lies, and now they had no life at all. I stood in my living room sipping a drink as the evening news played. Maya's mug shot appeared on the screen. Arrest warrant issued in $400,000 fraud case. I exhaled slowly. It was over. I wasn't the loser they had mocked. I wasn't a waste of space. I was the only one who had stood tall. And now I was finally free. It started with whispers. Maya and Gavin had spent years crafting an image of wealth, success, and superiority. They wanted admiration, envy. They threw lavish parties, wore designer brands, and never missed a chance to flaunt their status. But once the fraud story broke, their carefully built facade collapsed. At first, it was whisperers' neighbors noticing the cars gone, gossip in the grocery store about Gavin not showing up to work. Then came the headlines. Local couple exposed in massive fraud scandal. Their faces were plastered everywhere, news outlets, social media, even local broadcasts. The story spread like wildfire. Their entire identity had been built on validation from others. So when the truth came out, when people finally saw them for what they were, it destroyed them in a way no court ruling ever could. The fallout. I didn't have to look for updates. They found me. My phone buzzed constantly. Old acquaintances, ex-coworkers, even people I barely knew reached out. Dude, did you see the news? One text read, Maya is finished. Another came from an old friend. So Gavin was just a con artist all along. Should have figured he always seemed shady. But my favorite came from Mia's own best friend, Sarah, who messaged me out of nowhere. I had no idea she was capable of something like this. Me? I wasn't surprised. Really, because I did. I had no desire to reach out to Maya, but I could already picture what she was going through. She was being wiped from existence. First, her social media vanished, likely because the comments were brutal. People weren't holding back. I managed to find a few screenshots online before everything got scrubbed. User 1, imagine forging your ex-husband's signature and laughing about it in public. This is karma. User 2, Maya and Gavin thought they could scam their way through life. LOL. Enjoy prison. User 3. They used to act like they were better than everyone. Now they can't even pay rent. I won't lie, reading those felt satisfying. Maya and Gavin had mocked me, belittled me, stolen from me, and they thought there would be no consequences. Now they were facing every one of them. Gavin's downfall, Gavin had gone silent since our last talk. He'd sold Mare out, cutting a deal with the authorities to save himself. But the thing about snakes, they always end up getting bitten. A few days after the story broke, I got a call from my private investigator, Reed. Gavin's in trouble, he said, amusement in his tone. I leaned back in my chair. Tell me something I don't know. Reed laughed. His deal with the authorities got leaked now. All the people he scammed, they're turning on him. I smirked. So the rats are abandoning ship. Exactly, I wasn't shocked. Gavin had spent his life using people lying, manipulating, stealing. Now the same people he fooled were making sure he paid. His entire social circle vanished. Old business contacts gone, friends disappeared. Even his most loyal defenders were scrambling to cut ties. It wasn't just about avoiding the legal mess, it was self-preservation. No one wanted to be associated with a con artist. Gavin had lost everything, and the best part, he'd done it to himself. Maya's breaking point. Maya, on the other hand, was still trying to fight. Word got to me through a mutual acquaintance. She was desperately begging people for help. She went to her parents first, but they wouldn't even take her calls. Her father's words were clear. You lied to us? You stole from your ex-husband? You're on your own. Then she turned to old friends. One by one, they shut her out. No one wanted to get involved. No one wanted the scandal touching them. Even the people who used to look up to her, the women who once envied her, were mocking her. Now, one morning, I overheard two women whispering at a cafe table next to mine. "Did you hear about Maya?" one asked. "The fraud case?" "Of course, everyone's talking about it," the other replied. "She used to act like she was so perfect. Now look under investigation." The second woman chuckled. Guess she wasn't as smart as she thought. I took a sip of my coffee, struggling to hide the smirk, tugging at my lips. The public unraveling had become a spectacle, and the final blow landed just a week later. Maya and Gavin were already flat broke. Their business shut down, their assets frozen. Then came the eviction notice. Mia's house was officially seized by the bank. And the best part, a local news station filmed the entire thing. I watched from my phone as the footage aired. Mia standing outside in her pajamas, pale and hollow-eyed, while movers hauled out her furniture. Reporters crowded around her. "Maya, do you have any comments on the fraud case? Do you regret your actions?" She said nothing, just stood there, shoulders hunched, watching everything she had stolen being taken away piece by piece. Gone were the designer clothes. Gone was the smug expression. Gone was the aura of superiority. She was now just another disgraced fraud with no friends, no family, no money, and no influence. Nothing. Later that night, my phone buzzed with one final message from Maya. "Maya, you destroyed me." I stared at the screen, letting the words sink in. Destroyed her? She had done that all on her own. She had stolen from me, mocked me, used me, and now with everything falling apart, she wanted to pin it on me. I let out a quiet laugh, then slowly typed my reply. "Me? No, Maya. You did that all on your own." Then I blocked her number. That was it. No more second chances, no more looking back. For the first time in years, I was free. And Maya? She was just a cautionary tale, a reminder of what happens when you betray the wrong person. Her name was splashed across the headlines, her face plastered all over the news. Once the woman who fed on admiration and attention, she was now the town's biggest scandal. I imagined what it felt like for her to walk down the street, weighed down by every whisper, every stare. She used to strut confidently, head high, as if she was above everyone. Now she probably kept her eyes down, praying not to be recognized. But people recognized her. Oh, they absolutely did. And no one felt sorry for her. The final fall. A week after the eviction video went viral, Red, my private investigator, emailed me. "Red, check this out. You're going to love it." Attached was a newspaper article. Former businesswoman Maya Ilson reportedly living with relatives after fraud scandal. I leaned back, reading each word with quiet satisfaction. Maya was officially broke. Her accounts were frozen. Her credit shattered. No landlord would rent to her. No bank would even consider her. She had nothing left. And Gavin, he was in even worse shape. Reed included another attachment, Gavin's mugshot. I couldn't help but grin. Turns out Gavin's plea deal had collapsed. Though he agreed to testify against Maya, investigators uncovered even more embezzlement. More victims, more missing money. His deal was revoked. Now Gavin wasn't just possibly going to prison, it was a certainty. Mia's desperation. I knew she had hit rock bottom when I got one final voicemail. I shouldn't have listened to it. I should have just deleted it like all the others. But curiosity got the best of me. I pressed play. Her voice was barely recognizable, frail, broken. "Please," she whispered, "I don't have anywhere to go." I stared at the phone, listening to her voice crack and falter. She exhaled shakily. "You have every right to hate me, I know that," she said, followed by a quiet sniffle. I don't know what to do." Another pause, then softer. "I wish I had chosen you." That was the moment I smiled, because it wasn't just about the fraud. It wasn't just about the money. It was about something deeper. Maya had discarded me. She had mocked me, called me worthless, and picked Gavin over me. And now she was alone, broke, ashamed, and with no one left to turn to. I didn't respond to the voicemail. I didn't call her back. Instead, I let her sit in the wreckage of what she'd built. Gavin's downfall begins. Gavin was arrested on a Tuesday morning. I learned about it through an article forwarded by an old friend. The headline was harsh: "Scammer turned fraudster Gavin Matthews taken into custody after financial crimes exposed." I clicked it, scanning the details. He had been picked up at a rundown motel. Apparently, after leaving Maya behind, he'd been drifting from place to place, trying to stay off the radar. But once the truth about his schemes came out, people started talking. The motel manager tipped off the police. Now Gavin was looking at up to 15 years in prison. I set my phone down, letting out a slow breath. That was it. Gavin, the guy who always thought he was invincible, was now just another criminal in an orange jumpsuit. Mia's final plea. 2 days later, Maya sent an email. I almost ignored it until I saw the subject line. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I opened it." Her message was long, filled with remorse, excuses, and regret. "Maya, I know I did terrible things. I don't expect you to ever speak to me again, but I have to say this. I messed up. I let greed and pride ruin everything. I thought Gavin was the better choice. I thought money and success mattered more than love and loyalty. I was wrong. I see that now. I see everything." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then, without typing a word, I deleted the email. She didn't deserve closure. She didn't deserve a final conversation. She didn't deserve anything. 1 month later, with Maya and Gavin finally out of my life, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: freedom. The bank had cleared my name. My credit was restored. But best of all, I had won. Not just in court, not just on paper. I had won emotionally because Maya and Gavin would never recover from this. They had spent years looking down on me. Now they were beneath me. No home, no money, no allies, no future. And me, I was moving on. I was never a waste of space. I was the only one who had ever truly stood on his own. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. The storm had passed. No more lawsuits looming. No more forged documents threatening my life. No Maya, no Gavin. Just me finally free. But freedom wasn't just about winning. It was about beginning again. And that's exactly what I intended to do. Let go and start over. I took one final look at the old case files, the newspaper clippings, the emails from my lawyer confirming the last steps of the legal process. It was all officially over. Gavin was in prison. His entire scheme crumbled. Maya, she was just a name from the past now. She'd made one last desperate attempt to contact me, but I never read the message. I blocked her number, her email, every avenue she could use to reach me. She no longer existed in my world. I gathered the documents, the evidence of their downfall, and packed them into a box. Then I drove to the nearest dumpster and threw it all away. They had stolen enough of my time. They weren't getting another second, a clean slate. I knew it was time for a real change. The house I'd lived in for years held too many memories, some good, many bad. I needed a new space, one that didn't echo with Mia's laughter, or the nights I lay awake drowning in loss and betrayal. So I sold it just like that. The real estate agent was surprised by how quickly I made the decision, but I didn't hesitate. A month later, I had a new home, a sleek, modern condo overlooking the city. Nothing extravagant, just right for someone ready to start fresh. As I unpacked, I noticed something unexpected. I felt lighter, as if I'd been carrying invisible weight for years. The burden of Maya Gavin, the betrayal, the shame, it was gone. I was starting over and it felt damn good. The taste of real success. With the chaos behind me, I finally had the time and energy to focus on my own life. For the first time in years, I began to thrive. My business took off without Maya draining me financially, without the constant stress looming over me. I poured myself into my work. Clients noticed. My productivity soared. My income tripled in just a few months. The potential had always been there. I had just been held back by the wrong people. Now I was unstoppable. Closure in disguise. One evening I sat at a cafe sipping my coffee and enjoying the quiet when I heard a name I hadn't thought about in weeks. "Did you hear about Maya?" I didn't turn around. I didn't need to, but I listened. A group of women at a nearby table were deep in conversation. She's been couch hopping for months. One of them said, "No one wants to help her. Even her own family won't take her in." I stared down into my coffee, letting the words sink in. She had it all. Another woman said, shaking her head, "And now she's nothing." That word nothing hung in the air. Maya had once laughed at me, called me a waste of space, and now she was living out her own insult. But instead of feeling victorious, I felt nothing because she no longer mattered. She was simply irrelevant to me. Now I had moved on in Maya. She was nothing more than a cautionary tale. I finished my coffee, stood up, and walked out without a second glance. New connections, new life. One evening I found myself at a networking event, something I used to avoid, but this time it felt different. I was confident, calm, and open. I struck up conversations with ease, no longer burdened by the weight of the past. That's when I met her. She wasn't another Maya. She wasn't flashy, shallow, or obsessed with appearances. She was real, intelligent, driven, and grounded. Nothing like the people I had once led into my life. For the first time, I wasn't watching my back or bracing for betrayal. I was simply present, enjoying the moment. We exchanged numbers, and as I walked away, I realized I was excited about the future. The final lesson. One night, I stood on the balcony of my new condo, gazing out over the city lights. I had been through hell. I had lost everything. But in losing it all, I had gained more than I ever thought possible. I had found clarity. I had reclaimed my self-respect. I had discovered peace. And most of all, I had learned a lesson that would stay with me forever. Some people will use you, betray you, and mock you when you're down. But karma never forgets. And when it comes, it hits hard. Maya and Gavin had built their lives on lies, and now they had nothing. No home, no friends, no future. But me, I had rebuilt. I had flourished. And for the first time in a very long time, I was truly completely happy. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.